how do I figure out how many hosts are in each subnet? And why should you care? Well, step back for a moment. You know how to create subnets. We take our original subnet mask and we extend it out. So if we have a /16 and we go all the way down to a /22, we create 64 subnets. And that's great. I now have 64 subnets, but you know what? How many devices can I put in each of these subnets? That's a big question. That's a really big question. Because if you don't know how many devices you can have in each subnet, you will not know the addressing scope that you can have for each of the subnets. For example, can I have 10 devices in each of these subnets? Can I only have 4? Can I have 100? Can I have 250? Can I have 1,000? It all depends now on what is left over. So for example, if we go to /18, well, how many devices can I have in each of these? Don't know yet, do we? How many devices can I have in each of these? Again, we don't know yet. So I want to show you how we can figure out how many devices we could have in each of these subnets once we create these subnets. So there's an equation for that, and that equation is 2 to the power of h minus 2. 2 to the power of h minus 2. So if we go back to our example, that was a /16. And then we move on down to a /22. It says here that we have 1,022 hosts per network. So how did we come up with that number? We use the equation, 2 to the power of h minus 2. So what is h in this case? H is the number of host bits left over. So if I'm a /22, how can I figure out the number of host bits left over? Well, how many total bits can we have inside of a subnet mask? Well, there could be 8 in the first octet, 8 in the second octet, 8 in the third octet, 8 in the fourth octet. 8 times 4, that's 32 total bits. So if I can have 32 total bits in a subnet mask, if I subtract the number of network bits, that would leave me with the number of host bits. So 32, as we see here, minus 22 gives us a grand total of, that's right, 10. 10. So 32 minus 22 is 10. So now 10 is h. 10 is h, the number of host bits we have left over right here. So 2 to the power of 10 is 1,024. We then subtract 2 from that number, and what do we get? 1,022. 1,022 hosts in each of the 64 networks. So let's go back here. 64 subnets. So each one of these little pies we have, each one of these little subnets we have can support 1,022 usable IPv4 addresses. So now I know just by using this equation here. So 2 to the power of h, h being the number of host bits left over, minus 2. Why minus 2? We didn't minus 2 with subnets unless we did not support IP subnet 0. But here, I am adamant about subtracting 2. I am stressing to you, when determining the number of hosts, you must subtract 2. No ifs, ands, or buts about that, folks. So why are we subtracting 2 in this particular case? We're subtracting 2 because our routers use the very first IP address in a subnet as the subnet ID. So the router, for example, if your subnet is 10.1.1.0/24, well, 10.1.1.0 is the subnet ID. It's the subnet ID. It is what the router uses to make its forwarding decisions. It's the information that goes in the routing table. So you cannot assign this address to an end station. The router uses it for forwarding decisions. So therefore, since I can't use it, we subtract it from the number of addresses that are usable inside of that subnet. Hence, 2 to the power of h minus 2. Wait, 2. So there's got to be another address. Yeah, that's right. It's the directed broadcast address. The directed broadcast address in this example would be the very last IP address in that subnet. So if we have 10.1.1.0/24 as our subnet ID, the very last address in that subnet is 10.1.1.255. That is called the directed broadcast address. It is an address that can be used by any device in any network to communicate with every device in this network in one shot. If that confuses you, think about the address of 255, 255, 255, 255. What is that? That is the broadcast address, the IPv4 broadcast address that allows you to talk to everybody in your local area network in one shot. Okay. The directed broadcast address is used by who? The directed broadcast address would be used by devices outside of your local area network if they wanted to talk to everybody in your subnet. So that's what that address would be used for. So since it's used to talk to everybody within the subnet, you can't assign it to one single device in your subnet. That's why you subtract 2.